The Joint Forces engineering teams clear more Houthi mines in Hodeidah. The International Organization of Migration warns that the situation of displaced people in Marib is alarming. The war worsens the fragile healthcare system in Yemen. Welcome to Yemen Today TV. This is the English news with me, Rana Swaylam. Starting from the west coast, where the engineering teams of the joint forces demined large quantities of mines and explosive devices planted by the Houthi militia. Military media said that the joint forces cleared out all liberated areas in Hais, Jabal Ras and Al-Jarrahi districts in Hodeidah and the outskirts of Makbana in the neighboring Taiz. Military media indicated that public roads, farms and homes were booby-trapped with huge quantities of mines and explosive devices. The engineering team of the joint forces has recently doubled their efforts to clear large areas in the west coast of Yemen, where the rebels planted thousands of mines in civilian areas. More on this story is within the following report.
Mines are an everyday nightmare in Yemen. The country, during the 7 Years' War, has been a scene for more than 1 million landmines planted by the Houthi rebels in every corner, which constitute a danger to civilians and a massive obstacle to social and economic development. Houthi landmines have caused more than 9,000 casualties. The rebels even have been reconfiguring anti-tank mines into individual ones. In Hodeidah and Taiz Governorate, a humanitarian source said landmines in farmlands, villages, wells and roads have killed at least 140 civilians, including 19 children, since 2018. The danger exceeds lives. Landmines have blocked humanitarian organizations from handing aid to the populations in need. They left farms and wells inaccessible and injured civilians trying to return home. Human Rights Watch found that Houthi forces bear the primary responsibility for civilian casualties and any foreseeable civilian harm due to mines. The more troubling is that these nightmares are scattered by Iranian-backed militia without maps, which double or triple the efforts needed to remove them. With assistance from Iran, the Houthis established a landmine production facility in Sada, producing around 20 tons of mines per day. People in the west coast, where most of the landmines are located, lack transportation and health services for treatment. Patients often have amputations and then require months and months of rehabilitation. Further, some Yemeni civilians have taken it upon themselves to remove the immense amount of landmines, specifically within their community. This requires a call upon the international community to give help. A call also is extended to Yemenis to end war and plant life rather than death.
Still with mines, the Euro-Mediterranean Monitor warned that mines pose a mortal danger to the lives of millions due to their widespread in war zones. In a statement, the organization said that mines in Yemen still claim more civilian lives and pose a mortal danger to their lives due to their widespread in conflict areas. The governor of Al Hudaydah discussed with the deputy director of the United Nations Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs the humanitarian situation in Hais, south of the governorate. The governor stressed the need to support the rural hospital, confirming the local authorities' readiness to overcome obstacles facing international organizations. For his part, the OCHA official said that the organization is keen to diagnose the situation and provide a vision. He stressed on the importance of coordination with the local authority to provide services to Hais. Local sources said that the Houthi militia established a new training camp in Hudaydah. According to sources, the Houthis imposed compulsory conscription on people of Al Jarrahi district and forced each family to send one of their sons to fight in the militia's ranks or to hand over sums of money. The sources explained that the camp is located in a densely populated area. Turning to Ma'rib, government forces backed by popular resistance engage in fierce battles against Iranian-backed Houthi rebels in the southern and western fronts of the governorate. In the southern front, the government forces thwarted Houthi military attacks. Field sources reported that Houthi rebels tried to advance south of Al-Arab front on Al-Balq mountain. Those attempts, however, were defeated and Houthi rebels incurred heavy losses during the clash. On the western fronts, government forces artillery shelled the militia gatherings and movements, resulting in destroying 2 fighting vehicles and an armed vehicle in Kasara front. Coalition jets, in addition, carried out air raids in the western fronts and destroyed weapons stores for the militia. The International Organization of Migration described the situation of the displaced in Ma'rib governorate as miserable and indicated that the governorate houses more than 2 million displaced people. The IOM said that the number of displaced people has increased tenfold and there are more than 130 camps completely overcrowded due to the escalation of hostilities. The IOM called for more funding to meet the enormous needs, noting that only half of the funding requested for this year has been met. The UN Refugee Agency said that the humanitarian situation in Ma'rib is worsening. There has been a drastic increase in the need for shelter, essential household items, water and sanitation, education and protection services, particularly for children and women. The following report has more details.
Houthi militia escalation in Ma'rib has created the largest displacement crisis in Yemen in a decade, the executive unit for the management of IDPs said. Hostilities have escalated in Ma'rib Governorate and surrounding areas in the last 2 months, more than they have at any time this year, causing massive displacement as well as restricting civilian movement and humanitarian access to people in need. Houthis' ongoing military escalation on Ma'rib's southern districts during September, October, November and December has caused the displacement of more than 96,328 people. This is one of the largest waves of displacement in Yemen during the past decade. According to the United Nations, the situation continued to worsen, forcing people already settled in displacement sites to flee, with hostilities surging towards Ma'rib city, pointing out that up to 11 cluster-managed sites were forced to close. Families from areas of previous displacement arrive daily after they have lost their security and sources of livelihood, and they take long and difficult roads after Houthi militias took control of their areas in search of a dignified and better life. Displacement sites within districts of Ma'rib and Al-Wadi suffer from overcrowding of thousands of families and dozens of camps within their geographical scope and surrounding areas. Tragedy and suffering experienced by the displaced families from their areas greatly multiplies the burdens, tasks, and needs and challenges. Governmental unit to oversee IDP camps opened 42 new sites during the past 3 months in Al-Wadi district for the new displaced families. The executive unit called on the international community, United Nations, international organizations to assume their responsibility as a result of these developments, which portend a bad humanitarian disaster for these displaced families. Likewise, United Nations in Yemen said that additional funding is needed to sustain and scale up the aid operation in Ma'rib for the next 3 months, noting that Yemen humanitarian response plan for 2021 was only 57% funded by the end of November, stressing that critical sectors such as health, camp management and protection are struggling to meet the surging needs.
The United Nations said it intends to intensify its presence in Ma'rib because of the humanitarian crisis there. This came during a meeting in Aden between the head of the executive unit for the management of IDPs camps, Najib Al-Saadi, and the deputy regional director of OCHA, Tariq Al-Talahma. The UN official stressed the importance of coordinating efforts with the executive unit to support the displaced and alleviate their suffering and ensure the safe arrival of aid to them. Universal health coverage is celebrated around the world. In Yemen, however, the situation is different as the war has destroyed 60% of the healthcare system in the country. More on this story is in the following report.
On the International Day of Universal Health Coverage, Yemen lacks the most basic needs and the health sector is out of service. On 12 December 2017, International Universal Health Coverage Day was proclaimed by the United Nations. It aims to protect, promote, and improve health for everyone, everywhere, and to raise awareness of the need for strong and stable health systems and universal health coverage with multi-stakeholder partners. Universal Health Coverage Day ensures that everyone can have access to quality and affordable health care close to where they live. The Yemen Health Cluster is responding to the health consequences of the conflict and severe economic downturn in Yemen, simultaneously alongside the COVID-19 pandemic. Maintaining routine immunization activities and providing essential medicines has been a challenge, with only 51% of the health facilities in Yemen fully functioning, and another 35% with partial functionality. Coordination has become paramount in responding to multiple crises with limited resources. A decline in basic health service utilization was observed that could be attributed to both the violent conflict and the COVID-19 outbreak. Access challenges, insecurity, and unpaid salaries have led to a shortage in healthcare workers. In order to improve access and utilization of health services, Yemen's partners are supporting and facilitating patients' transportation and referral through a voucher system. Partners are helping to keep open 3,054 health facilities by offering health services, hosting capacity building sessions, and providing life-saving medicines and supplies. One of the partners is Yemen Family Care Association. It's one of the oldest NGOs in Yemen and a member of the Yemen Health Cluster since its inception. It's now present in 44 districts in 8 different governorates to provide maternal and newborn care, primary health care, and immunizations. They also contribute to the national plans by training health workers on the minimum service package, emergency first aid, mass casualties, and trauma management. Yemenis are suffering from the consequences of prolonged and ongoing armed conflict. Over 80% of the population faces significant challenges in reaching food, drinking water, and access to healthcare services. When will the suffering end? No one knows.
Coming next. An inspiring tale of a Yemeni immigrant becoming a mayor in United States.
راتب الواحد 120 ألف والكيس الدقيق ب18 ألف والكيس السكر اليوم ب20 ألف. كم يعني بيعطي هذا الراتب كامل كيس سكر وكيس دقيق؟
المواطن اليمني يعيش في أزمة إنسانية وغذائية مؤلمة من غلاء الأسعار وفحشة الأسعار وغلاء الصرف والعملة الأجنبية في البلد.
حالتي الحين حالة لما خرج لما ندفنا شقيرة ما نقدرش ناكل داخل ما احنا بحاجة صعبة.
Welcome back. The Agricultural and Polytechnic Institute in Lahja has been contributing to the education of many locals. However, the armed conflict has negatively impacted the way it functions. Officials of the institute say it lacks equipment and the building itself needs to be restored. The following report has more on this.
In the midst of the sand dunes, the Agricultural and Polytechnic building stands as a witness to pioneering times. This structure remains resilient despite the ugly war. It dates back to 1982 as an educational institute. It was rehabilitated between 1998 and 2002, and commercial specializations were developed in it to meet the needs of people.
This institute was established in 1982 as a technical institute and follows the method of high school education system in agriculture. Work in this institute stopped at the beginning of the 90s.
Lahj Agricultural Polytechnic Institute was neglected for the past years. This caused several obstacles for its administration that is unable to run it properly.
We lack support, especially in computers, where there are only 7 devices available, with 20 students taking turns to use them. Student housing also needs rehabilitation to be adequate. We hope that the government and authorities will support the institute.
This institute faces many difficulties, including lack of education equipment. Classes, labs and students' dorms are run down. Even further, most parts of the fence are demolished.
We suffer from a lack of students in this institute. This year, for instance, only a small number was admitted due to hard conditions in the country. Another problem we face is that classroom and laboratories need to be restored.
Issues did not stop there. Students enrolled suffer from transportation from and to the institute, lack of food, constant power cuts and more.
Students in general suffer from difficulty in transportation, as most students arrive at the institute late. As for students who live in the dorm, we suffer from lack of food and constant power cuts.
We need to raise operating expenses to create an environment conducive to science in terms of providing all educational aids. Also, computer laboratories need complete periodic maintenance so student and teacher can benefit.
Lack of operational budget among local authorities' indifference has aggravated the institute's difficulties to carry out its mission, amid constant calls to find effective solutions that restore this scientific structure, which serves many students in the area.
To economy, the central bank and the government received pledges for external support for foreign exchange reserves, which will be directed to achieving monetary stability. Sources revealed the urgent measures to be implemented to stop the drop of the Yemeni rial through Gulf and international support. Sources added that efforts are made to end the monetary division between Sana'a and Aden to address issues related to monetary policy and supervision of banks and money changers. Despite the crisis in Yemen, hope is still there. Yemeni youth are the flame for this hope by their persistence and fortitude. An example for the Yemeni youth is displayed in the following report.
Amr Ghalib, a 42-year-old immigrant from Yemen who secured a significant election victory in Hamtramck, a city in the U.S. state of Michigan, said his message is inclusive and he will represent everyone in the city. He is the first Arab American as well as the first Muslim mayor of the city. Ghalib said his job as a certified nurse practitioner at the local clinic in the city has enabled him to serve the community and build cordial relations with people. On November 2nd, Ghalib was declared elected by securing 69% of the votes. He defeated the incumbent four-time mayor Karen Majowski, who secured just 31% of the votes. Ghalib, who is going to serve a 4-year term as a mayor, promised that he will work as a team with the elected officials to bring investments to the city and get more grants from the county, state, and federal government. The city of Hamtramck, the densely populated municipality of Michigan and surrounded by the cities of Detroit and Highland Park, hosts the highest number of immigrants, half of them believed to be Muslims. Ghalib, a father of 3 children, said that the Muslim community supported him, especially Yemenis, but they were not the only supporters, he said. A lot of support came from non-Muslims as well, and that is why I won by a big number, he added. Describing his victory, which provided him with a chance to lead the city, he said that the Yemeni community is feeling particularly proud about his accomplishment. But Ghalib said that he will represent everyone. I also understand that it is a big responsibility and we have to work hard to succeed, he said. In his victory speech, Ghalib said that he would do his best to represent all corners of the community, no matter your faith, your background, who you love, or your political views. Ghalib believes that his journey from a small village in the mountains of Yemen to becoming a mayor in the US has inspired many young people. I went to medical school, but my love for politics and community service made me decide to run for public office to continue serving the community more efficiently, Ghalib said. Hamtramck also has 3 new Muslim City Council members, Khalil Rifai, Amanda Jakowski, and Adam Al-Barmaki.
Thank you.
Turning to health, the National Committee Against Coronavirus announced 6 new cases of the COVID-19. Committee officials said on Twitter that 6 cases were recorded plus 3 deaths. With the current updates, the total confirmed cases are 10,069, including 1,971 deaths and 6,942 cases of recovery. Here's a reminder of the main headlines. The Joint Forces engineering teams remove more Houthi mines in Hodeidah. The International Organization of Migration warns that the situation of the displaced people in Ma'rib is alarming. The war worsens the fragile healthcare system in Yemen. This is the end of the news. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.